next movie, Jurassic World. This one of the biggest mistakes that I found was the technical side of it. Like Jurassic World, you have an undersea dinosaur, the Mesosaur. But as I recall, Jurassic Park, the animals were formed from the DNA found in the blood of mosquitoes, and that's how they came up with all the animals. Well, a Mesosaur is in the ocean, below the sea, so technically they're trying to tell us that mosquitoes of the past could go into the ocean and suck the blood out of a Mesosaur?
映画に行きたい気分です。楽しみにしています。
No, I didn't buy that at all, but when I saw the Mesosaur at the beginning of Jurassic Park, I knew right there and then, as did other members of the audience, because we discussed it afterwards, that the Mesosaur was going to take out this gigantic, genetically altered dinosaur that was just incredible. This is a fantastic movie. It will hold your interest, and you will ride along with the rest of these characters through this film as they go about their business. I love the fact that they show the capitalists trying to make money, and even though there's a dinosaur loose in the park that could kill everybody, the capitalist doesn't want to interfere with the money-making aspect, and they want to keep the impending doom down, because they just might be able to control it before they lose any money. That was beautiful. I love showing capitalism for what it is. As far as the movie goes, there was a very frightening part when you think everything's nice and calm and quiet and that they've escaped this dinosaur that's hunting them. And it suddenly bursts through the ceiling of the garage where they're hiding. Everybody in the audience jumped, and half the audience screamed. And I was in the audience in a section that had 3 seats, and I was sitting with 2 Chinese girls, and the girl beside me jumped back like this, but the girl next to her arms are going like that, like for must have been half a second, because she acted as if the dinosaur was actually coming towards her and about to bite her. I have to show you. Her arms went up like this. She was shaking a good long time, so, hats off to this director. You can pull that off, then you made yourself a hell of a movie, and you're one of the best directors. If you can engage and bring your audience into a film like that. So what is the movie about? It's just this dinosaur that is genetically altered with DNA from other animals. This is how they make all these animals come to life, because sequences in the DNA could break off and be lost, so they take the DNA of other animals and inject it in. Well, it made this animal extremely smart, almost chimpanzee-like. And it was confined and kept away from other animals, and didn't socialize, didn't really deal with any environmental issues. All it knew was to hunt, kill, eat, and that's all it dealt with, to the point where it became like a weasel, the characteristic of a weasel. Whereas a weasel gets into an environment, it will kill everything that it can, whether it needs to eat it or not. For example, this grocery store I'd worked at was down by the waterfront. It was filled with rats. Inside the grocery store, outside the grocery store, there were rats everywhere. and they had an exterminator in there, but they couldn't control this. In came a weasel from the surrounding countryside. This weasel eliminated every mouse and every rat in this entire district, to the point where it's 2 years later and we still haven't seen any rats or mice, and the weasels moved on by now. These things just continue to kill because they like to kill, and that's the way this dinosaur was. So this, because of the characteristics of the weasel, the fact that this dinosaur wanted only to kill for sport was perfectly logical to me. This actually can happen in nature. So this dinosaur was just moving along and just killing things as it found them, to the point where it would pursue one aim to kill whatever it saw or whatever it went after. It wasn't a genetically altered Tyrannosaurus rex, which is what I expected at first. It was actually a genetically altered Velociraptor, which meant that it could communicate and bring the Velociraptors in with it. And the Velociraptors, which supposedly got trained to a point to work with this trainer, actually turned on the trainer and the others when it met the giant wayward dinosaur, because this animal had the ability to communicate. Although it should have attacked the Velociraptors, it didn't do that until the end, when the Velociraptors joined up with that trainer again in the end. And we don't see the Tyrannosaurus rex until the end, when she goes and opens up the gate to let it out. I thought there would have been more than one inside the gate, this pen where they were keeping it. But it was just one Tyrannosaurus rex, and there's this big battle, and this genetically altered dinosaur was beating the hell out of the Tyrannosaurus rex for a while, and then the Velociraptors got in there, and then it was still winning the war until it got close to the edge of the water, and sure enough, up come the Mesosaur, and it was curtains for the genetically altered dinosaur. The Mesosaur just grabbed him and took him into the ocean. Velociraptors, Tyrannosaurus rex can't swim, so once they're in water, that's it. They're finished. As far as characterization, I like the fact that this little kid with his brother was in there. It was interesting to see how the little kid reacted to, the little brother reacted to his parents getting divorced, and then he had to convince his older brother that they were getting divorced. That drew you into the character and made them more likable, made you follow them more. And the babysitter hired by the aunt, who was the capitalist I had mentioned, she was a complete mess, didn't look after these kids at all. She wasn't a babysitter to begin with, she was just a secretary. I like the fact that this teenage kid was only interested in the women, didn't want to be there at this dinosaur camp. The little kid did, but he eventually got involved with it. And beyond that, it's a hell of a journey. It's the same thing. Dinosaur loose in the island, and by this time people had come back to Jurassic Park, and they cordoned off the old park and just kept it closed, and it rotted. And you can see where the original Jurassic Park, they actually go inside where you see the ending part where the Velociraptors attack the Tyrannosaurus rex. That's there. And there's a big skull there. Tyrannosaurus rex maybe came back to that area and died there. I don't know. I can't remember where that skull would have come from. That was on the bottom, but it's a Tyrannosaur skull, and that's another story. But all's well. It's the same thing, but all's well that ends well for the people. One of the major scenes in this is the the aviary where they keep the pterodactyls, which were not, pterodactyls are not dinosaurs, they're actually flying lizards. It was cool to see that in order to escape the helicopter, the genetically altered dinosaur crashed through the aviary to try to hide in there, and as a result it allowed the pterodactyls to escape, and then they turned on the humans and started flying off with them or dropping them or just attacking them, when probably out of sheer panic. Which makes sense. I've seen crows attack people to protect their young ones, so you know that's perfectly logical as well, the way they behaved. Anyway, Jurassic World, this is a great addition to the series. You will notice inside this film that the embryos of genetically modified dinosaurs were taken away by I don't know who they were, scientists or maybe the capitalists, confiscated by the capitalist investors. But you will notice, if you pay attention, that these embryos were taken away from the medical lab where they were being engineered. Where they went, we don't know. They don't talk about it. But you can bet your bottom dollar that there will be a future movie centered somewhere around this. I highly recommend this movie. It was good to see them all over again, and unfortunately it didn't go too well for the pterodactyls. I think they actually shot them all. Some of those dinosaurs, they weren't Jurassic, they were Cretaceous. We now know that the Tyrannosaurus Rex and the Velociraptors actually had feathers, and the Velociraptors had wing feathers on their, really long feathers on their arms. We know this from Chinese discoveries in 2009, 2012. We also know the coloring because the fossilized pigments survived. And we don't see this in this Jurassic World movie, so it is a flaw in the design. But when you consider that some of the DNA was missing from, then they had to insert other animals to create these animals, well, you can take into consideration that somehow the feathers got lost. It would have been interesting though to see that part, to see them update it to reality rather than just go with the old programming. But maybe, time and money, who's got time to put feathers on it, on the old programs that were used to create these dinosaurs. But it's a splendid movie. Enjoyed it very much.